Hello everyone, and welcome to Rise of Salai, a Avatar Legends actual play using the rules by Magpie Productions. Or is it Magpie Entertainment? I do this every time I play this game. I never get it right. I'm sorry, Magpie. Please don't smite me. My name is E06, the Game Master, and joining me are three intrepid individuals who will meet right away because we have been off for a month. We want to reach a climactic end to this season, so we're going to maybe do that today, maybe another session. We'll just sort of see what happens. But to start things off, Matthew, if you care to introduce yourself and who you're playing.
Hello everyone, my name is Matthew. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather today, so my voice is going to be a little bit hoarse. But I am playing Salai, the avatar of this era, who is a taciturn and somewhat socially maladjusted young woman who is just embarking on her journey to learn the four elements.
Techno.
Hi everyone, I'm Techno. I am playing Lyn Zhou, and she's also a somewhat emotionally maladjusted and taciturn person, but in completely different ways, surely, because we can't all have the same character. That would be insane. I think everyone in the chat should also wish Matthew a happy birthday for in 7 hours' time.
Let's go!
Happy birthday, Matthew.
Happy birthday to you.
No, we're not going to sing the song. I can never stand the song. But
thank you. Also, that's copyrighted. You might get sued.
Oh, that's true. I might get copyright DMCA.
We could do it in the original Klingon, but we're in the wrong game for that.
I can sing it in Welsh.
Oh God, no! I don't want the Welsh copyright strike. Those are the worst.
They've got dragons.
Yeah, Bean. What about you?
Bean.
Oh yeah, I exist. Hello, I'm Bean_Goblin VT. I'm just a little goblin on the internet. You can find me by searching that name, I guess. I exist. Also, my character is Tori-Michi. I may be the same one in the party. Just nothing wrong with my character.
Oh, that's not true.
I'm completely sane. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Same being relative, of course.
Same being relevant, of course.
Yeah. All right. Well, since it has been literally a month since we've been off, I am just going to do a very quick narration to bring everybody back up to speed. So, where we last left off, the team Avatar had just come into Tin City, had gotten an abode when they were invited by Lord Izon to have tea. And Izon turned out to be, I would say, a pleasant sort, at least to a point, where he was very receptive, very eager to answer questions from Team Avatar. But what came out is that the pink death rocks, or what the players were calling pink death rocks, were actually quote-unquote pink purification rocks that were meant to reset the spiritual balance in an area. And that the reason that people were getting sick was because they were sensitive to spiritual matters or the humors or whatever word you want to use. Now, in further probing of, hey, where did you get these rocks? Who gave you this idea? It came out that a spirit, a dark spirit named Daiji, similar in form to Ko the Face Stealer, had actually both interacted with Izon and had imparted a part of himself to exist within the upper chest of Izon himself. Now, there was some discussion about whether or not this would return the Fire Islands to this grand spiritual energy oasis, whether or not this was just using fire to burn out a problem. But what ended up happening was Salai ended up acquiring a sample of the pink rock and entered into this sort of pseudo-spiritual vision/projection where they were able to see Daiji's spectral form looming behind Izon. And how do I say this in a nice way? Daiji was very much a obstinate spirit where, if I remember correctly, he said something along the lines of restoring the kingdom of the spirits for balance was his goal, and that he really didn't care who got hurt by this plan because he was restoring the proper order of things. Now, of course, Salai made a good few comments about how you can't force balance because if you do, it's not balance, and how that the Avatar's journey and existence is all about that balance. So there, obviously, an impasse was reached. Salai came back to her body and announced that maybe you're going to the spirit world in the near future. And then there was some discussion about whether squirrel bear jerky was good or not, and how deer tiger jerky was rare to come by. And then I think after that, Izon left, and you more or less went back to the inn to discuss where you were going to go next. And if my notes are correct, there was a discussion about, well, what was Lyn Zhou's family doing? Because they were apparently in with Lord Izon's plan. So does that mean they're going to attack Tin City in the near future? Does that mean that they're on board, but what do they get out of it? You know, that sort of thing. And where we left off was you all were getting a bite to eat before maybe having Lyn go do quote-unquote spy stuff and figuring out what the Zhou family was doing in Tin City. So where we're going to jump in is I'm going to put us in, let's say, a courtyard outside of the inn that you're staying in. You've all just gotten a pouch of fire flakes. Whether or not you like fire flakes is your call. But that's where I'm going to drop you all in. It's about mid-afternoon. You maybe have about 3 or 4 hours of daylight left.
So I'm poking the fire flakes and like, I understand the crunch, but I find them a bit too spicy.
And it's just standing there, just eating them by the handful, just
Like,
but she does stop at that and like, how?
like
children eat these.
Yeah, but like I feel like they're just crunch and spice. There's like
Yeah.
That is the definition of a fire flake. It's a flake, therefore it is crunchy,
I mean,
and it is fire, so it's spicy.
I guess I'm just.
What
used
else were
to-
you looking for?
I know. I suppose. I just feel like there's something missing. I don't know. I put one in my mouth.
I mean, they've been made the same way for literally centuries. Like, if anyone was going to improve them, then surely they would have done by now. But how do you improve fire
I
flakes?
don't mean the fire flakes themselves. I just feel like you could add something to it.
No, you add fire flakes to other things. That's what you do.
But why would we just give him fire flakes though?
Because it's fine on its own.
I don't know. I think she would have a point. We could
I feel-
add a sweet element to
Yeah, I was-
accompany it.
I was thinking that, or like there's like some sauces from the Earth Kingdom that I know that would could like dip it in and have like oh. I need to get some sauces. I wait, no, I can't get distracted. We got stuff to do. I know we're having a break and a snack, but we need to find out where the Zhows are and find the Zhows plan, so then we can go to the spirit and say that, hey, look, your plan is causing the Zhows to like rise up. So I can't get distracted. Focus. And I sort of like put my hands either side of my head, like I have blinkers on. Focus.
I'm really intrigued to see whether blinkers would actually work.
And no, my hearing is what distracts me more than my sight.
So maybe also
Really,
some of
you
the
are
other
rather
bugs.
attracted to pretty colors and fast-moving objects.
All right, so like, I don't know about you, but you see the, I just like point without looking. You see the banners and the flyers and the other things flowing through the very nice city. I can actually
Well,
hear
no, I
those.
don't, because I'm actually focused on you when you're actually
Okay.
speaking.
But I
you
know
have
that
some
they're
difficulty
there.
with that, but-
Right.
Also,
what I'm
I feel
saying-
like I ought to point out this is you being distracted now.
Yes.
Yeah, is it? But like, I know they're there, and I know they would be pretty. So I look at them, and then I get distracted by the other nice sound. Like I can hear cooking two blocks down, and I wonder what they're cooking and whether it's going to be tasty. And like, I can hear not necessarily the context, but I can hear some people loudly calling that way, talking that way. I just start pointing at sounds.
Lyn just turns to Salai. Like, I tried to stop this. I did.
I don't think there is any way we could.
I'd like to think that Tori's just continuing to chatter in the background.
And that's why whenever I hear the wind blow, I think it's trying to take me somewhere, so I follow it.
Okay.
Speaking of, and she like makes this weird little gesture with her hands, following the dictates of the wind. Lyn,
I will not be following the dictates of the wind. I will be going with the plan that we agreed earlier on.
I don't know if that's entirely apt, considering fire does move the direction of the wind.
No,
but
yes,
besides that, that's also a distraction. I was actually using that as an awkward segue to get us out of the conversation that Tori was attempting to start
I think
regarding
Tori was
distant
just talking
sounds.
themselves, but
I
yeah.
was trying to start a conversation.
It's difficult to tell what you're trying to do, Red. Always.
That I'll agree with.
I love cities, but I find them very distracting. And now that we've had a time to sit down, and I just start looking at some pretty stuff from the distance, and then get distracted by a sound, and then look over there as well.
I mean, that said,
Wait,
I've seen her sit and stare at a rock for like an hour and a half.
We need to go to
so-
the docks, don't we? This way! As I get up and point to where you were trying to lead to us
Lyn
beforehand.
literally grabs the back of her collar to stop her running off. No. There's no running off to the docks. I thought this is what we discussed, is there will be soldiers there.
Yes.
And that's why I was going to go there and intimidate the soldiers into telling us things.
Okay, so then what are us two doing?
Don't know.
Well, I would be known to them, so I should probably remain behind with Akemi. But
disguise.
you've...
Hmm.
I don't know if that really work.
Well, like Fire Island soldiers of certain tribes wear masks, don't they? Does our foot soldiers wear masks?
I mean, the rank and file do, yes.
Well, it would make sense why you would have a rank and file soldier with you. Maybe two.
You're
As
not.
a tree.
That might work, but could you actually pull that off?
You're not exactly Fire Nation
Stoic,
soldier or Fire Island soldier
respectable.
material.
No, you're none of those
Ow!
things.
I take that offense to that respectable. The other ones I can understand. I may not be like respectable as a soldier, but
I'm sure that's what Salai meant.
Well, it
like-
was contextual, yes.
like I could act. I just look dejected at this point.
I think Lyn and Salai just hopefully just look at each other, just like. All right, if we can find a uniform and that's if we can
Okay.
find a uniform.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. Before you say that, Tori, do you
Yes?
have Fire Nation uniforms that would fit us in your cart?
ELH, do I have Fire Nation?
Don't look at me. It's your cart. You're the one that narratively declares these things.
I feel like there should be a role because it's like, yes, I can pull out stuff, but a very specific thing feels like a role.
All
I
right,
feel
I
like
tell
it's
you what. Why
the
don't
very
you roll,
definition of
roll push your luck?
Push your
So
luck.
roll with passion.
Roll. Do I just have the ability to be a spy, just wherever I go,
Yeah, just
understandably?
pull it out whenever. Yeah, push your luck. Roll with passion here. Okay, yeah, I hit. So what I'm gonna
Oh,
say
if I
is
get
that
one more, I get a full hit, right?
yep. So if someone wants to throw in a fatigue, we can get a full hit here.
Like if Lyn points out the exact uniform as I
Yeah,
start pulling
I was kind of just thinking if Lyn is like, oh no, those trousers are they're like 2 seasons out of date. You'll need these ones. And
as you start I start pulling out different uniforms from different tribes.
where do you get these?
I bought them.
I mean, you bought them. They
I-
don't sell these.
Well, I bought them from the people that make them.
That would seem to be a breach of contract.
Absolutely, it would. What do you? Which
just-
contractors? Oh, wait, I'm getting distracted now. It's not important.
But anyway, I've got disguises. I just hold 2 up, which vaguely fit both of us.
I mean, Lyn, sorry, does sort of gesture to herself and goes, I'm fine.
But the 2 of us, as I point to Salai and me.
Oh.
And I think Salai's just going to pick up one of the helmets there, one of these sort of horn helmets that's sitting on the... Just pop it onto her head.
I
You
really
see-
thought you were staying here with Akemi, and
You see. They use like different face masks and stuff. So I adjusted the helmets that I could just I click out one of the face masks and then put in another one from another tribe, and then do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. and then adjust the spikes with different spikes I have in it. So it looks like I've like spent a lot of time just customizing this helmet to be able to look like different helmets.
Tori, you recall how
Mhm.
we were discussing you being distracted?
I put it back to the way it's meant to be.
There we go. Okay, good job.
I did it.
You did. Well done. And against her better nature, she just sort of pats her on the head.
Yeah.
Okay, so new plan. We're all going apparently to the docks, with you two disguised as Fire Nation soldiers.
Your bodyguards, yes.
Sorry, Fire Island Zhou soldiers, yes. My bodyguards, because I definitely need bodyguards, apparently. And that hopefully won't be questioned at all.
Well, everyone
Okay.
needs bodyguards, right? That's why I have you two. In a
That's
certain
kind
respect.
that's kind of my point. Is I'm your bodyguard. If I show, never mind. It's not important. These are probably rank and file troops. It's not going to be an issue.
Well, it depends if you were assigned to a different mission. Or assigned bodyguards
It was
to be a
kind of a,
bodyguard.
but it was kind of a big deal that I was assigned to this mission. Like it was a point of pride kind of thing. Like everyone's going to know that I should be.
You could play into that. Like you have been brought to investigate this from your honorable mission, and you're angry because of it.
I mean, I am angry because of it. That's true.
Like, if they think that they've done bad, like they've messed up, and you are coming to invest, like not them specifically, but somebody in the area's messed up. There's been a leak or something, and you've been pulled from your mission with the Avatar to investigate this. You're gonna play the fact that you look bad in front of the Avatar. You're gonna look bad that it's this messing around your family. So somebody's gonna get it in the neck, which means they may be more forthcoming with certain information we require.
I mean, I was fully planning to intimidate them. Yes. Was that
And
a
that would-
question? Was that in question?
No, I was just giving fuel to your fire, to
Right. Okay.
ammunition, like extra arrows to shoot at them. Not actual arrows, but you know what I mean.
Although,
I mean, if it came down to it, it might be necessary.
I mean, I do have arrows. I pull out a quiver and arrows.
you have a bow, though.
I don't need a bow.
Lyn literally has
But I do
nothing
have
to say
a
to
bow.
that. Right. Yeah. No. I never really thought about that, but yeah, I suppose you could do that. Okay. So you two put those uniforms on then. I guess Akemi's going to have to wait here on her own.
I mean, she's tired from all the dancing, so probably for the best.
Just because I find it funny, Akemi has literally been dancing while you've been eating, and she's been getting a little bit of money. Like, there's a little bowl in front of Akemi, and just people are throwing little bits of money into it.
In fact, you've been dancing for weeks now.
Feels like it, yes. But, eelhounds, remarkable stamina.
Anyway, she's doing a wonderful job, and we should all be very proud of her. But the two of you should be getting into uniform then, and then we'll go and intimidate some people into telling us the information that we want to know.
Well, you
Okay.
make it sound like every other Tuesday.
I mean, this is Tuesday too. It's just becoming Tuesdays for us.
Yeah.
Right.
I go get changed.
Likewise.
So, you come back changed in the uniform. What I'm going to say is that you actually look the part thanks to that passion roll earlier, that push your luck. Unless somebody rips off your helmet or your faceplate, they will be none the wiser. But yeah, so it sounds like you're heading to the docks, and my question is mostly towards Techno and Lyn. Where are you heading for the largest ship? Are you asking around with the guards that are around the dock? How are you approaching this situation when trying to find your family?
It is a good question. I mean, approaching the largest ship probably has the biggest risk because there's every chance that a member of the family will be aboard or overseeing that section of the fleet or something like that. Whereas if we head for one of the smaller ships that I could maybe identify as belonging to the Zhao family, then maybe I could, it would make more sense that I'm being sort of asked to whip them into shape. That's my thinking. So I think yeah, we'd probably head for one of the smaller ones on like the fringes of the dock, maybe.
Okay. So, as you go along the docks themselves are pretty much just all made out of wood. There's junk in the water, and when I mean junk, I don't mean like trash. I mean like junk is the actual ship. So there's a bunch of junks in the water. There is kind of this flat barge that is small, but still large enough that you can hang banners off it, that sort of thing. And the Zhao warriors, identified by their immaculate boots, and the banners they fly on the ship are just sort of making sure that nobody can walk onto the barge. There's 2 of them next to the gangplank, and if you approach, they'll all sort of like stand up straight and be like, excuse me, ma'am, do you have any business here?
Lyn is going to go just seen into full intimidation mode, and she's just going to plant her spear in front of her. Do you not recognize one of your seniors when they speak to you?
They look at one another. I'm afraid not. I'm sorry. Who are you?
She sort of pounds her chest. It's like, I'm... Oh gosh, what rank would she have?
I don't
Wouldn't
think we're
you be
ever really
lady
told what
above-
ranks.
Lady would be good. Thank you very
lady
much.
above anything else, because
Yeah, absolutely.
even if you're general, it'd still be ladies out.
I'm Lady Zhao of the Zhao family. Who are you?
They look at one another. Well, my name is Maja, and this is Tumen.
Stand up straight when you're talking to me, soldier.
Yes, of course. And they stand up a little bit straighter. We were not told that you were coming, Lady Zhao.
One isn't told of an unplanned inspection. And this is the kind of layabout attitude that I have been sent to investigate and snap you out of. This is intolerable. You bring shame to the entire family.
ELH, I would like to pull out some paper and make notes on who we're speaking to.
Sure, I'll put them in chat for you.
Thank you.
But yeah, I'm just trying to think, is this more of an intimidate or is this more a trick? That's what I'm debating.
I mean, survey is out on this one because it's both.
Tell you what, why don't we do trick? Because I think trick is better.
See, okay, yep, all right, no problem. It's been a hot minute. Remind me how I actually roll this.
Yeah, so on the character sheet, you see the little dice icon next to creativity in this instance. You just click that and let it rip.
There we go.
I'd like to assist by making myself appear quite intimidating, almost like leaning in over them a little bit.
Okay, make sure to mark fatigue.
Yep.
Okay, and here we go. Do I put a bonus in for that, or
a bonus of 1? Yeah.
Bonus of 1. Yeah, good. I know this system. This is great.
Oh,
yay!
All right, that is a full hit. That is a 12. So yeah, you get to pick 2 from the trick list. Do you want them to stumble and you get a +1 forward against them? Do you want them to act foolishly, or do they overcommit and are deceived for some time?
The last 2.
Yeah, I feel like overcommit.
Okay.
I want them. Yes, so I want them to be deceived for some time with this. Not be asking questions for fear of being shouted at. That's kind of what I'm aiming for here.
So the last 2 then. So Masha and Tuman look at each other, and at this point they're like, "Oh, we screwed up," and you can tell that in their voice and the tiny shake in their knees. And they're like, "Yes, of course, Lady Zhao. Do you wish to speak with our captain, Ojai?"
Of course, I want to speak to Captain Ojai.
Leave me very well. Do you wish to speak with him here or on the ship?
Leave me aboard this instant.
Yes, of course. And they let you up the gangplank.
Lyn follows, just fully upright. like very strict posture, just using her staff as a sort of almost like a sort of walking stick, for want of just using it, just thumping it on the deck as she goes.
So I'm assuming
and
Salai and Tori are also following behind.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I want to basically look like the one which is, yes, I'm a soldier, but also I seem to be just the quartermaster or whatever sort of role, just taking notes of everything, because this is an inspection. And the Lady Zhou is not meant to take her own notes.
This is true. This is true. All right, well, Lyn and party, you get up onto the deck of the barge, and the two guards follow you, and Maja says, I will go fetch Captain Ojai. Please wait here 1 moment.
And Lyn just sort of nods curtly, clearly very, like, the demeanor is very upset still.
Okay. So Maja runs off, and then Tuman kind of looks at you all, and then back at the gangplank and go, Lady Zhou, should I be guarding you or the gangplank?
Tumon, was it? Private?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Who do you see standing behind me?
I see a scribe and a very capable bodyguard.
So let me ask you again, Private Tumon. Do you think that you should be guarding me or stopping people from getting onto the ship?
I'm gonna go guard the gangplank.
That's a very good idea, Private Tumon. You go and do that.
Awkwardly shuffles off.
I feel sorry for him.
You should. You should. But yeah, after a few, maybe not even 30 seconds, Maja returns with a very portly gentleman, where this is a man that has seen much food in his life, perhaps a little too much food in his life. But he also has the top knots typical of Fire Island nationals of high rank. And he also has a full beard, almost like Iroh does. And it's one of those things where he, I guess the word would be, waddles across the deck towards you and says, Lady Zhou, I was not expecting to have a visitor from the family. Again, my apologies if I haven't been introduced. My name is Captain Ojai. What is it we can do for you?
Well, Captain, the Lord General Zhou is concerned that the operation will be falling behind schedule, and based on the frankly appalling level of discipline that I'm seeing on board your ship, I'm inclined to agree with him. I want you to take me below deck with my scribe and my bodyguard, and I want you to explain to me in detail your role here, so that we can be assured that you're not doing anything incorrectly.
I think this is another... Is this trick or is this... I think it's another trick here. So roll again with creativity here.
Righto.
He has a seafood diet. He sees food and he eats it. Yeah, you're not wrong. All right, full hit. So
I'll
yeah,
get in.
I think he is definitely going to be like, yes, ma'am, please, this way. And you head below decks, and true to what Tori-Michi was speculating last time, the hull, or the hold, I should say, the hold is full of those pink, what you call pink death rocks, what Izon called pink purification rocks. But there's just row after row after row after row of these rocks. And as you all come into the hold, Captain Ojai says, as you can see, we are prepared to enact the plan to take over the city. We estimate that it will take us approximately 2 hours to disseminate all these rocks into the waterways. And that's just not with my ship, but with the rest of the fleet docked here in Tin City. We've been pretty much waiting on standby for the order to go ahead. Are we doing this soon, if I may be so bold, Lady Zhou, or are we still in the holding pattern?
You are too bold. The mission will proceed on our schedule, and I am not at liberty to discuss the particulars of our timescale with you.
Of course. My apologies for acting above my station. But as you can see, the rocks that we have procured are all in fine form. We've been very careful to handle them and not touch them to require any antidote or curative. And other than that, is there anything else you wish to see?
Lyn is just going to sort of look back over her shoulder towards Salai or Tori. Quite a subtle sort of motion, but just, anything they want to add.
And Salai is going to sort of sidle up next to Tori-Michi, pretend to look down at the documents she has in hand, and then look up towards Lyn. Milady, you may wish to inquire regarding the manifests?
You're quite right, I must. Captain Ojai, you will supply the manifests of your ship to my scribe.
Of course. You, guard, whose name I never remember. Muzan? Tuzan? Sir, my name is Tuman. That's right, Tuzan. Right. Tuzan, go fetch the manifest. Tuzan runs off and comes back with the manifest. It's obviously a list of what's on the ship, though instead of it literally written like pink rocks, it just says rocks. It doesn't say pink rocks, it just says rocks. And if you want an actual number, let's say on the order of 16 on this barge.
And they have numerous barges around the city, yeah?
Correct.
From what I'm guessing is these ships are probably small enough to go upriver and then disperse them upriver. Is that seem to be the plan?
I will make no comment.
Okay. Cool.
Is there any mention on the manifests of troops or arms or anything like that?
Yes, and in fact, what you're noticing is that the barges that are here at Tin City are split up. Some of them are meant to carry rocks, some of them are meant to carry troops. And if you had to guess based on this manifest and the size of this barge, you're looking at maybe a force of about 200 to 300 people just waiting for the Zhou signal, if it were.
I will make notes. I will make notes which does what they have is that they have like a code, and I will make notes like that code so it looks like I understand the code. And I won't write rocks, pink death rocks, I'll write rocks and stuff like that, and I will put personnel instead of soldiers and other sorts of things. So if anybody's looking over my shoulder, which I don't guess there is because of how well Lady Zhou's acting is, but I want to make sure that I also want to have a quick look around and look like I'm doing a job as a scribe. I will look at some of the cases, make some notes and other such things, and go, everything seems to be in order, Lady Zhou, in this barge.
Well, I wouldn't go quite that far, but certainly this is more satisfactory than I had hoped, than I expected. Captain Ojai.
Yes.
What is the condition of your ship?
We've not suffered any damage, and we're where we should be in the waterline.
And you're fully prepared to be able to navigate the waterways should the need arise?
Yes, of course. We are, of course, waiting for a easterly wind that will make traveling upriver easier.
Very good. And how many? What's your crew complement? That should be on the manifest, I suppose. Actually.
Yeah, on the manifest, it would have said 5, including the 2 guards you met earlier.
Okay, so you have a full crew of 5, including yourself. They are all, and she sort of works her jaw a bit, as disciplined as the 2 I met on the dock, I assume?
Unfortunately, yes. My apologies. They were new when I picked them up at my previous destination.
You should know our motto by now. There are no excuses. There's just bad leadership. I expect you to whip them into shape before this operation goes underway.
Of course, Lady Zhou. I will discipline them strictly and have them train nightly.
Very good.
Quick question. When we were looking at the manifest, is there anything thereon that marks it as an official document? Some sort of seal or signature?
Yes, there is the Zhou seal on the parchment. And Techno, what does that look like?
Oh, putting me on the spot there. I think it's going to be the... yes, thank you, Matt. I think it's going to be the Fire Island emblem, sort of like as shown behind Matt there, but with a crossed a sword underneath and a spear cutting through the middle of it as well.
I like it. I like it. So yeah, that seal would be appropriate on all manifest documents.
I think it's probably worth noting as well that that particular emblem behind that there isn't a uniform Fire Island emblem. It is very much part of the Zhou heraldry.
Okay. GM has
That's my little bit of world building that I'm throwing in there.
No, I love it. I love it. I have made a note.
Okay. I'm just trying to think, is there anything else we want to accomplish here? I'm also trying to weigh up the pros and cons of us just taking over this boat. But do we need a boat? The Spirit Oasis that we were going to be heading to, that was inland, wasn't it?
It was,
Yeah.
but since a river has been mentioned, I'm going to pivot what I had planned. You could potentially take the barge upriver to where the spiritual oasis is. And actually, I should qualify, it's not a spiritual oasis, it's a spiritual bridge, where the veil between the spirit world and the regular world is kind of thin, so you can pass over easier.
I don't know. I'm of a mind that that we could sort of kill two birds with one stone here and take over the ship and take it upriver, reduce the amount of death rocks that are available, and then also hit this this spirit bridge.
I just want to write down on the piece of paper that we have what we need here. We can get more if you want, but I think we're good here. And just go, the schedule, my lady, and just show you that bit of paper. Like I'm just showing you a time thing, just so I can speak to you without actually speaking to you.
Has it
But
just
also
got, we've got what we need and big arrows pointing at
And-
it?
Yeah, and like we can regroup and, you know, just saying that we don't necessarily have to make a decision here.
Mhm. It's a fair point. Okay, Captain Ojai, I've
Yes.
seen everything I need to here.
Are you sure I could treat you to a afternoon lunch if you were so willing?
I think there'll be a slight, ever so slight softening of Zhao's expression. That would be good. However, I have other pressing needs to attend to. You understand? The operation must go without a hitch. Perhaps we could partake of that hospitality another time.
Of course, Lady Zhao. I will make sure that I save some of the good stuff for you.
Very good.
And then,
yeah.
I would say at this point, unless you have any further business, Ojai will see you to the gangplank himself, and then he will see you depart. And then, I think Tori-Michi, since you made the mention earlier about listening to the wind and the sounds that are on it, because Airbender, once he thinks you're out of earshot, Tori, you will hear, "Oh, thank God! I thought she was going to kill me. Oh God!"
Oh, jeez.
And I think Lyn is going to maintain her sort of strict, very upright posture and marching until she's basically out of sight of the ship, and then just sort of she's going to basically just sort of, her shoulders are going to completely relax. She's going to sort of slump slightly while holding onto her spear, a very much more relaxed and less intimidating aura around her, I think.
Your family has a reputation with their officers.
My family trains the officers. We run the army.
That might be a bit of an overstatement.
I'm just going to say that your family's reputation and your performance had put the couple of years on that man's life.
I mean, to be fair, that was very, very sloppy operation there. Like, did you see the state of the deck? I'd wager that hasn't been washed since they brought the rocks on board.
I was
If even
surprised that
before.
the soldiers didn't recognize their lady. Like, I thought that would just be like...
Right?
I just thought like even in the most undisciplined Earth Kingdom towns, they know who the guy in charge is. Like, they have to swear allegiance to that person, whether it's the
I mean,
king or mayor or something. You'd think
yeah,
that,
I
like,
mean, to be completely fair, it's quite a large family.
hmm,
So, and we sort of rotate in and out of the training,
okay.
and all of the allegiance is really towards,
I mean, that makes more sense.
I suppose, the Lord General rather than to like the specific Zhao family, like just the head of.
I mean,
So
I just feel like, when they said Lady Zhao, it should have clicked a little bit faster.
right,
Like,
like
like,
I feel like I should be having words with the family on that point alone. Like clearly discipline has slipped here.
I mean,
Lyn, speaking of distractions and losing focus on particularly assigned tasks, you're allowing Tori to. And she just sort of like gestures off to the distance.
I mean, yes, but this is also a matter of professional pride. Like we're the
Right?
best soldiers and mercenaries on the Fire Islands, and that's how they're acting in the middle of an operation that's this complex.
And considering it's a secret one, they should have like put more like professional ones rather than the unprofessional ones. So if this is the best that they have for this operation. Anyway,
Well, what better way of concealing the operation than by through a veneer of incompetence?
that is maybe genius.
I don't think that's the case, though. I've seen people acting incompetent on purpose, and that was not this.
No, I meant that they are actually incompetent. It's just that was precisely why they were selected for this operation.
Oh.
No one would ever suspect.
Oh, they might be expendable. Oh, now I feel bad for shouting at them.
Anyway,
I mean,
The risk of exposure to the pink death rock is quite high.
yeah, that makes more sense than it should.
no. So I think we got two courses of action. So depending on what the spirit can do with the rocks, like if he can de-spiritualize them from the spirit world, and this is a big if, because just bear with me a moment, right? He is basically granted the Lord of the City powers and mutations, and also these rocks. And these rocks come from the spirit world. Now, does that require him to have continuous, want for the rocks to do what he desires them? Or is he just, lifted some pebbles from the spirit world and given them to someone? Because, if he can take the power from the rocks at a will, then we should probably go speak to the spirit, because then he would be able to stop this, because they're just going to dump rocks in the river. But if he can't do that, we need to stop this in a more physical manner, and then go to the spirit to show what they're doing is wrong. Because I think that was the end goal, trying to get the spirit who is doing all of this to hey, I understand what you're trying to do, but it's having negative consequences. And we have enough evidence that his actions are causing humans to abuse what he sees as a medicine.
Of course, that might only impel him to more radical action, considering it would be yet more proof of the imbalance inherent in the Fire Nation.
But also proves your point of how he is trying to fix it is the issue.
Sadly, he didn't seem disposed to reason.
Right, so our course of action should be stopping this then in the physical world and then dealing with it spiritually.
I think we should prepare for the former and attempt the latter.
Okay.
If, for instance, we were able to prove to Lord Izon that this attack was impending, he could mount some kind of defense in a clandestine fashion, and then we would go into the spirit world and attempt to address the source of the problem.
Well, I think we can certainly accomplish that part, can't we? I mean, we have a copy of. I mean, you were actually scribing, weren't you, Tori?
I can translate all of the thing.
So we can
of how many numbers, rocks, and personnel ships they have, the general plan,
and we got confirmation from the captain that that's what's going to happen.
She puts in front of you what does not look like a set of her notes. It is very organized, almost like the manifests are. And then on the second page is an exact word for word layout of a translation that she has, which she thinks is their plan. And unlike most of her scrabblings, which just meander across the page with notes on notes, it's very neat and very orderly.
You wrote this?
Yes. I can write like that always. I just find it very boring.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not actually even going to question that one. That's maybe the first time you've said something that makes sense.
Staying lines is literally pain. Not actually pain.
Is it literally, or are you using that?
I mean, you know when you're like reading a book and it's dry, and like you're pushing yourself to read the book,
Oh,
and like
the
you
book
don't want
be
to,
wet.
but like maybe you're
Well, of
that
course,
would
but-
be right. Rather,
Yeah.
you destroy.
I mean, like the story in the is a bit boring, or the subject matter is not exactly very engaging, and it's a push to read that subject. It's like that.
Right. It says they're not really getting it.
It would be like eating fireflies without the spice.
Then they would just be crunch. It would be
Yes.
pointless.
Precisely.
Right.
I'm so glad that went through and not me describing it in other ways.
Anyway, I think we do need to decide on a plan of action here now.
Okay.
It sounds like they are literally waiting for the wind to change, and or some kind of signal
From
to,
the family.
yeah, which could be. So if we're going to do something, it needs to be now.
Because, like, as far as I can tell, they're all in position, which means they probably sent a message to your
Mhm,
family that they're all in position. So,
And if they hear that the Avatar is in the city, which they almost certainly have by now, and has met with
Izon.
the local, yeah, then that could be the impetus they need to accelerate the plans. So I think if we weren't on a clock before, then we absolutely are now.
Then all the more reason for us to get to the palace and inform Lord Izon of the danger posed to his city.
Okay.
and Lyn,
Yes.
are you okay? I just wanted to
Yes.
check because literally you're acting against your family, which I find that most people are not okay with.
Oh. I'm trying very hard not to think about it at the moment.
Okay.
But yes, I'm
Alright.
okay.
All right. Just wanted to check that because, you know.
We don't really have time for that, though.
Okay.
We can deal with the touchy-feely emotional stuff later,
Right.
assuming we all survive the next 24 hours or so.
I mean, we got this, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
From a certain point of view, yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
and
I mean, there is a definite, very slim chance that we might survive.
quoting Old Master Kenobi aside, let's get to the palace.
And that's
So-
I feel like that should be the cut.
No, that is gonna be the cut,
yeah.
So you all arrive back at back at
Izon.
Izon's palace, and since he is still out doing errands, there's just the two regular guards that belong to Izon's forces, and they just kind of very politely stop you and say, Avatar, or I guess you're still in costume, so they would have just assumed that it's Lyn. Miss Zhou, have you forgotten something? Do we need to fetch anything for you, or do you have a message for Lord Izon?
Yes, to all three, actually. We believe that there's a threat to the city and to Lord Izon, and we need to speak with him immediately.
And they're going to look at one another and say, how urgent would you say this is? We can go fetch a runner and try to find him immediately.
So just going to take that one off.
Oh,
Dyer.
Avatar.
Yes.
That Dyer. Okay, and one of the guards look at the other. You go run, I'll handle things here. And the other guard nods and sprints off into the city to go find Lord Izon.
I'm gonna take this helmet off, but it's not gonna be so revealing because you're not gonna know who I am. I take the helmet off.
Hey, you're that airbender, right?
Oh yeah, I was actually recognized. Wow.
I mean,
Yeah,
you did have tea with the Fire Lord.
True.
There's probably, at best a handful of airbenders in. It's not important. Well, yes, okay. This is that distraction we were talking about.
I mean, we're sat here waiting for someone. Distractions are usually good in a meantime when you're waiting for something.
I mean, we could just leave a message.
I think we're in an urgency that waiting is probably a good thing.
That would seem to be the exact opposite of what we should be doing, considering that it's urgent.
I mean, he's already run off. If we were
Yes, but
gonna...
we have another guard right here, and she just speaks about him as if he's not even there.
Hello.
Hi.
Just completely
Oh, shit.
focused, doesn't even hear him talking.
Salai's talking to Lyn, and I'm just having a chat with the guard.
So, I can write a brief message on the manifest copy that we have, leave that for Lord Izon, and presumably he's at least marginally competent, given that he is a Fire Lord.
I mean, yes and no, because look at what people are doing in his name, and he doesn't even really understand what's going on, and has been apparently tricked by a spirit, and his basic plan was to just sort of hope it all works out.
That's an excellent counter-argument, and I accede to the logic of your observation.
I think you're maybe discrediting the Lord a lot, a bit too much there, because even with that, he seems to be effectively running the city, and this is one of the most prosperous cities in the Fire Islands that I've come across.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. That...
maybe not militarily the most competent, but clearly politically and economically.
I mean, it's fine.
Does somebody have some city envy?
No, quite the opposite.
No, okay then.
We don't even have guards here. Come on.
He has.
Hello?
I pointed at the guard.
No, I mean, okay, there's him, but what's he gonna do?
Well, I have a spear.
I have a spear. What do you want?
I don't know, I'm just trying to be useful.
Well, then,
You're doing great. No, don't
What were we
break him down
saying?
too much. You know, you gotta keep. Okay, I don't know
okay.
what we were saying.
No. And she turns to Salai. We can write a letter if you want, but then what then are we doing? Are we going to head to the Spirit Bridge?
I think we should at least talk to the Lord in person so he gets the message fully.
Are you
just
doubting my ability to actually convey the message succinctly and accurately?
No.
Simply by writing it down?
I think this is a sort of urgent conversation that you should have with the person directly rather than over letter.
Well, there are other urgencies that might require our attention more so than just conversing with the Fire Lord.
Yeah, but
At this
Hey,
point, the other runner comes back, and in tow, hurrying along, is Lord Izon. And he's a little bit out of breath when he finally reaches the gates. He goes, "Oh, all right, Avatar, company, what is so
Hello.
urgent?" Oh, wait, he's Sean Connery. Hold on. Avatar, others, what seems to be the matter?
well, besides the fact that your surprise and urgency, you seem to have knocked out your accent for a moment. We seem to be good.
That happens sometime. But please tell me, what is the issue?
We've uncovered some disturbing information regarding the, the Zhou forces that are in this city. Lyn?
Should we go into the palace and talk about this?
I think we're kind of walking in as...
Yeah, you're walking into the palace at this point.
Okay. I was just
right past that guard, just completely ignoring him.
And I give him a thumbs up. You're doing great.
And as we're walking, Lyn's just explaining, that there is multiple ships full of, there are multiple ships full of Zhao troops that are in your harbor. They've got some of the spiritual rock, the pink death rock, the whatever. What are we calling this? And she sort of turns to Tori-Michi as she's walking.
I think we should just call it Pink Rock for now.
Okay, fine. Pink rock. They've got a hold full of pink rock. There are several ships that probably have the same, and their plan is to dump this in your waterways throughout the city and you know, as far as the rivers go, presumably, while also taking control of the city.
And Izon seems not exactly shocked, but he also is... How do I say this? You can tell, at least on some level, he's kind of expected news like this. And he says, "So the Zhao family are making their move, as I expected. I appreciate you bringing this news to me. And as a token of my appreciation, I believe that, well, perhaps I should reword that. Before I offer any tokens of appreciation and thanks, I do have a request of you, Avatar, and your friends."
Yes.
Well, if I understand correctly, the Zhao plan to contaminate the waterways involves getting upriver. Well, you're the Avatar. You could reroute that river or raise the seabed to prevent them from getting upriver.
Wouldn't that disrupt your, mercantile?
Well,
Would we have...
I'm hoping that the Avatar knows a little bit about redirecting waterways to form many small streams instead of one large river.
And she seems to ponder that for a moment. You can see that there's a flicker of a frown that downturns her lips, which is quite a bit of expression for her. And what I'd like to do is there any way that I can reach out spiritually around this region, considering it is, I think, a kind of oasis, to determine what kind of spiritual forces are associated with their waterway? Is there a water spirit, or are there other spiritual forces here that might be disrupted along with the ecosystem naturally by attempting this kind of plan?
I think that would be probably a rely on your skills and training here, I think.
Right. So roll with focus?
Yep, roll with focus. And again, full hit. That just seems to be the thing we're doing today. So, good news. Since this is a relative calm oasis, whatever word you want to use, you don't have to worry too much about disrupting a spirit. This particular river doesn't have, a certain spirit ascribed to it. It's more a collection of, oh, there's this water spirit that maybe lives in the river. But they're not like a major spirit, if that makes any sense. As far as it comes about the wildlife and the spiritual balance or imbalance, as long as you don't stop the river completely, you should be okay. But if you plug up the river, dam it up, whatever, that's where the issue is going to come in.
All right. Then she'll turn to Izon or Izon and nod. That's something that I can attempt to do, and I'm willing to assist.
Oh, I would appreciate that. And anything you need to help with this, men, food, supplies, you have it at your disposal. But from the sounds of it, I need to have my god immediately check the inventory of these ships.
Well, there is then one thing that you might be able to help us with.
Go ahead.
Could you postpone that?
Of course, but wouldn't that perhaps invite them enacting their plan?
Well, if we change the course of the river, they wouldn't be able to put it into action. Instead, could you just prepare and monitor them?
I believe we can do that, yes.
If you were to examine their holds, they would sacrifice one ship and then carry on with their plan.
I see the wisdom in this. You must excuse me. I'm not thinking very clearly after our tea this afternoon. I have a bit of a headache. And actually, since you got a full hit earlier, Salai, I'm going to say that you notice just at the very base of his neck, there's just this tiny little centipede head that's wiggling a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah, on seeing that, without even asking, and I'm going to apologize, I guess, in advance to those of you who are in this group at the same time, because this is not a wise course of action. On seeing that, recognizing this as a manifestation of that dark spirit, manifestation really of Rava
Daiji.
or Vatu,
Mhm.
in a way, being like the influence moving through Daiji, corrupting him, she's going to extend a hand and basically attempt to spirit bend that out of him. Like she
Okay.
sees
Oh, God.
that, and she's just going to try to break that connection or the, I guess, the curse that is inherent to it.
All right. So actually, what's going to happen then is we're going to enter into an exchange because I think the guards, despite you being the avatar, they're going to see you lunging out for Ozai. And I think this makes sense to go into an exchange. Might not be a long exchange, but let's see what happens. So what that means... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, just as soon as Lyn notices Salai doing this, there's like no question as to what she's going to do. She literally just sort of spins her spear into a ready position as well.
Okay.
Not necessarily to fight, but just to be ready in case things kick off.
Okay. So, I'm just going to write out the scene so I don't forget it in my own head. There are 4 guards besides Izon. There's Lord Izon, and then there's the 3 of you. Now, what I'm going to say is that to Spirit Bend, there's not actually rules as far as I'm aware. There might be in a supplement. But as far as I'm aware, there's not rules for Spirit Bending, Matthew. So the way we'll handle it is if you want to Spirit Bend... we'll treat it as a evade and observe, unless you would have a argument for another one of the 3 categories that are there.
No, I think that evade and observe would be reasonable.
Okay. Now, what I'm also going to do is I am going to set a clock on this. And basically what I mean by clock is that you have to sustain the spirit bending for a certain number of turns in order for it to succeed, or you could just roll a full hit and maybe decrease that clock, if that makes any sense. So I'm just going to say there's 0 out of 4 turns. I'll put that in quotes. And we'll just sort of see what happens. So, the way exchanges work in the system, since it has been a hot minute, is we start off by picking one of 3 categories. You can either defend and maneuver, you can advance and attack, or you can evade and observe. And I'll just go down the line. So, Matthew, I would assume evade and observe on your point?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
So,
Techno, what are you doing?
I am going to defend a maneuver, I think.
Defend and maneuver? Okay. And then Bean and Tori.
I'm going to evade and attack because...
Well, evade and observe or advance and attack?
Advance and attack. Unlike Tori, which is like, I'm ready to go, there's like something, like I just stare at Lyn, and like there's just something in the sound of like her movements and stuff which puts me on edge, and then I just feel like people going to attack her, and I just go more aggressive than I normally would.
Mm-hmm. So, we're going to go down the line, because the NPCs have all elected to advance and attack, so since Defend and Maneuver goes first, Lyn Zhou, if you could roll me with focus here to see how many techniques you can use.
Okay, here we go.
Full hit, meaning that you can use a basic technique. Actually, you can use 2 basic or mastered technique. You can use a practice technique, or you can mark 1 fatigue to use a learned technique. And it does have to be a defend and maneuver technique, I should qualify.
Yeah. That being the case, I am going to ready and also just be ready to retaliate if needed.
Okay, so make sure to mark a fatigue for the ready.
Yep.
But what is it you want to inflict status-wise on these, either yourself or the environment? Because there's many different statuses that you can assign. There's doomed, impaired, trapped, stunned for the negatives. There's empowered, favored, inspired, and prepared for positives. So is this something where you want to sort of juice up Tori-Michi, maybe provide an opening for her, or is this something where you want to make it more difficult for the guards to attack? What does your ready look like?
Sure. I feel like when Lyn sort of spun her spear and put it into the ready position, she was working to position herself between Salai and the guards, and or as much as possible to give herself that room to maneuver should she need to in order to defend her. So I'd like to take put the status of prepared on Lyn.
Lyn. Okay, so just make a note of that. All right, up next is going to be advance and attacking. So Tori-Michi, since you're a player, I believe you get to go first. Please roll with passion.
All right. Roll. Full hit.
Full hit. You again.
Nice.
You get to use 2 basic or 2 mastered. You can use 1 practice, or you can mark fatigue to use a learned.
All right. I would like to use Breath of Wind, Exhale a Mighty via Pursed Lips, marking 1 fatigue to knock down a single target and put the stun on them unless they take 4 fatigue.
Okay. And you could do that twice.
Question.
Yes.
I had fatigue from last session. Has that gone away?
No, not yet.
Okay, cool. No, I didn't mean to clear. Put that back on. Okay, so I take that. So I knock, stun / hit one of the guards. There's 4 guards, isn't there? There's 4 guards.
There's 4 guards, so you could take out half of them.
Yeah, I'm going to just basically this huge inhale of like my chest expands a lot more than it normally does, and I just like blow 2 of the guards into the wall, and a lot more aggressive and a lot more punchy. Well, I'm not actually throwing a punch, but a lot more turbulent at fighting style than people are used to be seeing. And for some reason, my character's a little bit more on edge than normal.
Okay. So yeah, with that in mind, you send out these blasts of air, and the 2 of the guards go down. They are not going to mark for fatigue. They are just going to be stunned, which more or less they are out of this exchange, which means they cannot act. Which leaves now to the remaining 2 guards. They're going to see that Lyn Zhou and Tori are the biggest threats here. So I think one's going to go for Lyn Zhou. And Lyn, since you are retaliating, they will suffer fatigue. But they are going to be coming in and inflicting 2 fatigue on you as they sort of jab at you with their spear and a bit of firebending.
Yeah, there goes all my fatigue. I never wanted fatigue anyway, it's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. You don't need fatigue. But yes, that will apply to both you and Tori-Michi there.
Cool.
Okay.
Ow.
Not super great, but okay.
I'm alive.
Yeah. All right, we now come to evade and observe. So first things first, Matthew, make sure to clear 1 fatigue. And
Right.
then you have a choice of rolling with either creativity or harmony.
It both is a better stat for me, and it makes sense logically that I'd be rolling with Harmony, considering what I'm attempting to do here, which is restore that balance inside of him. So
Like
I'll
it.
roll with Harmony. It's a hit. Okay.
Okay. So what that means is you're only going to knock off one on the clock, but you are able to at least begin the process of expelling Daiji from Lord Izon. And what I'm going to say is, since it's not a miss, Izon is fictionally stunned by your energy bending or your spirit bending at this point. Had you rolled a miss, he would have been able to perhaps do something against you, but since you succeeded, there's none of that. So, as we come to the end of the exchange, and before we enter into another one, what's going to happen is Izon is going to kind of grunt and go, What are you doing?
Don't you feel it? It's inside of you, and it has to get out.
Gosh, stop fighting and go get help. And unless anybody has anything else they want to quickly do in the narrative, we will enter into another exchange.
Nothing from me. No.
Nope, nothing here.
All right, then we will enter into another exchange. And once again, I need to know what everybody's category is going to be. So once again, Matthew.
Evade and observe.
Okay, always like to make sure. Techno.
I will go for evade and observe as well, please.
Observe.
I'm going to
Okay.
go for defend and maneuver.
Defend and maneuver. All right, well, The guards are all going to be attempting to seize a new position, so they are going to be defending and maneuvering. So, Bean, if I understand correctly, you're defending and maneuvering, so please roll with focus.
Miss.
Okay. So, on a miss, you have the option of shifting your balance away from center to use one basic technique in defend and maneuver.
Most of these would have me mark a fatigue, and I was hoping to use Twisting Winds and Seize a Position, so they would have to attack me to escape, but I'm gonna basically try to maneuver so I stop them, but I don't succeed at my plan.
Okay. Well, what I would say is that you could potentially use Seize a Position to accomplish that. It just might mean they have a difficult time doing it. Like, they're going to have to mark fatigue.
My mistake. Any foe engaging would mark one fatigue. Oh, I misread that. Okay. Yeah, I would like to. I am quite far from my center. My excellence is pushing me over the edge. I'm going to use Seize position, and effectively what I'm going to do is not physically get in the way, but I start flipping my hands left and right as wind starts to tunnel around them and then make this wall. And every single time they try to move forward, I re-engage the wall, so it's not a continuous barrier. But every single time they move forward, they just hit with this like wall of air.
Okay, I like it. Now, let me actually peek at your sheet here. I had it up, but I foolishly closed it. But I believe... Yeah, you're at full fatigue here. So just, Ken, is learning moment. Since your fatigue is full at this point, if you have to mark another fatigue, you will now start taking conditions.
Yeah.
And if you fill up all your conditions, you are out of the exchange, out of the scene.
Please don't hit me.
Well, that's going to be your call here, because what's going to happen is the two guards are also going to be attempting to seize a position, but they are also engaged with you. So you can spend one fatigue per guard to prevent them from running off and getting help.
Okay, so they would take one damage.
You would take one fatigue, and you would stop them from getting away.
Well, from what I understand from Caesar's position, that if any foe that's engaged with you, they mark one fatigue to block this technique.
Yes.
So they would take one fatigue anyway. I would just have to spend more fatigue for them to not be able to leave.
I see what you're saying, and I can see where the confusion point is. So technically, you are the foe in this instance. They are the actor. So any foe engaged with you, the NPC, can mark one fatigue, so it would be just you marking the fatigue.
Okay. Right.
But as I said, you would have to mark two conditions here in order for that to happen.
Okay. I'm going to actually do that. I'm going to tick Afraid and Troubled, as this entire situation has disturbed me. Like, I think I'm doing the right thing, because the Avatar is, like, doing something. But, like, attacking these guards with their only job is to defend their lord is really not sitting well with me. Even though I'm effectively doing it, because
Fair enough. Alright, well, nobody advanced and attacked unless I've misheard, so we now go to Evade and Observe. We're going to do Techno and then Salai. So, Lyn Zhou, if you could roll Creativity or Harmony and make sure to clear one fatigue.
I'm going to clear the fatigue before I forget, and then I think I'm going to roll with Creativity.
Okay, so just as the same thing, you could shift your balance away from center and closer to tradition, it looks like. And you could use a basic technique of bolster or hinder, test balance, or commit.
Let me think. So that ruins the thing I was planning. So yeah, I will move towards tradition. That's the center I move, isn't it? You said?
It would be the blocks up and above. So the center stays the same. It's just that you shift away. Yeah, you did it right. Oh,
lovely. Okay, and then let's. Okay, so probably the best thing to do. I am going to commit.
Okay.
So I can. I'm just going to. It seems kind of point. Actually, that seems incredibly pointless. I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
I am going to bolster or hinder then. So I'm actually going to move my position to better help Tori-Michi.
Okay.
Because it seems like she's doing the bulk of the work and it's clearly giving her some effort. So if I'm understanding this correctly, I can inflict a status on her.
On her or one of the guards?
I mean, it could be a positive status.
Yeah, I think I'd like to empower her slightly.
That would let her clear fatigue.
Yeah, so I'm going to do that then. So I'm going to sort of just sort of having just move into a closer position to her to support her and just sort of turn and go, are you okay?
Yeah, fine. Just focusing.
Okay, relax. We've got this. It's fine. Just relax. It's just a fight. Just.
You notice that every single time she finishes one of her moves, she just quickly looks down at the two guards that she's dispatched.
Oh, yeah, they're fine. Don't worry about that. We'll look after them later. Just, we're protecting Salai. That's what we're doing. So just focus on that, okay?
Mm-hmm. Protect Salai. Okay, I got this.
Yeah, you're good. You've got this.
Okay, so I take away one fatigue now?
Yep, one fatigue at the end of each exchange. So technically after Salai's turn, but Salai's the last one to go. So Salai, your turn to clear fatigue and roll with Harmony once more, I presume.
Indeed.
Full hit, which in this instance is going to tick the clock down to 3 out of 4 turns. And again, since you achieved a full hit, at this point your hand is glowing with that sort of white light that we see a little bit of Cora, where she's spirit bending the water, but you're forgoing the water completely. You are quite literally almost lay on hands, to use a D&D term, where you are quite literally just imparting positive spiritual energy to force out the spirit of Daiji. And at this point, Izon is gritting his teeth, his eyes are bulging, he's not really able to form words. It seems that this is probably unpleasant, if not maybe painful for him, what you're doing, but you are seeing progress, Salai. That is the important thing, where the moving tattoo or the moving corruption on Izon's body is shrinking. It is shrinking at a very rapid rate. In fact, you think with just a little bit more push, you will be able to expel Daiji completely.
And she's just going to say, not quite through gritted teeth, but as she's almost not quite as well in the avatar state, but you could see that there's that little flickering of the eyes as the conflict on a spiritual level is progressing. She's going to reassure him, you're going to be fine. Just stop fighting me.
So, we once again enter into the narrative again. Does anybody want to do anything in the narrative before we go into what could be our final exchange? All right, then we will enter into what I hope will be our final exchange, but we'll see what the dice have in store. So once again, open to the party. What are we doing technique-wise? I'm presuming invading, observing for you, Matthew. So Techno, what about you? What are you doing?
I think I am going to advance an attack at this point.
I'm going to defend and maneuver. Actually, no, I'm going to evade and observe.
Okay.
I have a lot of fatigue.
You do.
I have less fatigue now. Oh, does the fatigue go as soon as I pick Evade Observe, or when we get to Evade Observe?
When we get to Evade and Observe is my understanding.
Okay. I will put that back on then.
But you still were able to mark off one fatigue because of the Empower, thankfully, from Lyn Zhou.
Yeah.
All right. So in that case, I think the guards are also going to advance an attack at this point because they're engaged with you. So more jabbing with their spear, more jabbing with fire blasting, just trying to get an opening so they can run off and get help. But Lyn Zhou, since you are advancing and attacking, you get to roll with passion first.
Well, let's hope that this turns out better than last time.
I believe in you.
Oh, hang on one moment. I'm prepared. Do I get to add +1 to this roll?
If you want to clear prepared to get a +1, yeah. And you don't have to clear it until after the roll.
Oh, well, in that case, let's look at doing that then. So I am going to roll with passion.
Okay, so you again have the option of shifting your balance to use one of your basic techniques here.
You would have to get the 7, correct?
Yeah, 7
Yeah.
would be the thing here, so it's
there'd
very
be
much out
no
of reach.
point.
I can take a fatigue to get you to a +2, but it's not going to be enough.
No. I have to move it towards tradition, don't I? If I'm...
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just. Okay. So I guess clearly whatever was happening on that boat has had more of an effect on Lyn than she realized. She's literally falling into old habits. She's just roots herself completely. She's her sort of demeanor is changing as the fight is going on, and she's just attacking mercilessly at this point. So she's just going to advance and attack on both these guards, just sort of whirling her spear around, spinning it, smacking them with both ends of it, the flat of the blade and the sort of the ball end of the shaft, and just doing as much damage as possible to sort of keep them away from Salai and from Tori-Michi.
Got it. So if you look at strike then, you have the choice of either letting me decide what they take in terms of damage, or you can mark 1 fatigue to force them to take damage. Or you can inflict a condition. But it would involve marking a fatigue. That is the
So sorry. So say that again. You can choose.
So it's one of those things where unless you mark a fatigue, I get to pick what they end up marking.
I see. Okay.
Because if you marked 1 fatigue, you could stun 1.
Yes.
Yes.
From what I understand. Instead of them taking 2 fatigue or becoming angry or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let me just double check these then. I think, based on what I just said, I think the better thing to happen is probably for me to spend the fatigue and to force my target to mark 2 fatigue.
2 fatigue, and since they're just normal guards, that is enough to take out one of the guards in this combat. Cool. So another guard takes probably the flat of your spear to the face, goes down and is lifeless on the floor. Well, not lifeless, he's still breathing, but goes down onto the floor, knocked out.
Limp on the floor.
Limp on the floor, that's the word I wanted, thank you. But that does still leave 1 guard, and I am going to do the diplomatic thing. I'm going to roll a 1d2 to see whether it affects Tori-Michi or it affects Lyn Zhou. Lyn, you're going to be 1. Tori-Michi, you will be 2. All right, Lyn, the guard is going to come after you after seeing what you did to his buddy. And I now have the option of doing a little bit of interesting things to you, because they're going to mark a fatigue, and they will inflict 2 fatigue on you.
So
and
that is going to push
4.
me. That's going to push me over the limit, yes.
Yes, which means you have to mark a condition here. I'd say troubled would probably work here. If you
I was looking at troubled, but I'm also looking
angry?
at angry. Yeah.
Angry would work too.
And I'm thinking, like, being in that mindset of, just like, Lady Zhou, basically. How dare this person strike me or raise their arms against me? So I'm actually feeling like that would work better because I'm in that complete zone. So I'm going to mark angry as my condition.
All right, I love it. So we now come to Salai. Once again, clear that fatigue and let's see that roll. Just again, Matthew knocking these out of the park. Yeah, so I'm actually going to say it at the end of the exchange. Matthew, what does it look like when Salai finishes the procedure?
Can I
Oh yeah, what's up?
I want to make a roll because there's a chance that I can get a technique to master.
Oh yeah, go for it. Go ahead and do your roll, and then we'll describe then what happened with Salai.
So, from what I understand, it is harmony or creativity when it comes to evade and observe. However, if I
Correct.
spend a point of fatigue, which I've just gained one back, I can roll excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I pass, I will explain it more. Yes.
Which you do.
So I see that Lyn is getting hounded by this spearman, and I'm going to use suction, snatch a small object from the ground or throws hands with sucking wind. The object snaps to your hand unless somebody marks too fatigued to hold it or block the maneuver.
Which the guard is going to foolishly block the technique, which means he'll be knocked out by this attack.
So in that moment, I am terrified, I am troubled, and there's just like calm presence comes over my mind where I just go into full training mode, and that technique that I was trying to slow Salai, which was the sucking a pebble from the sticks, I just envision that instead of the battlefield, spin my hand and then pull back as the wind just pulls the guy's spear, and he goes, and then grips onto it and tries to pull it back, and then I let go of the suction as he just hits his head with the spear and falls over backwards.
Okay. I love it. Thank you for interrupting me and adding that detail. Thank you.
As far as I understand rules-wise, because I am in excellence, I go from learned to mastered. I skip the practice stage if I'm correct.
I'll have to investigate it later, but go ahead and mark at least practice for now. We'll investigate it off stream.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, returning to Salai, again, what does it look like when Daiji is expelled from Izon?
So I think that those corrugating bands of luminescent energy or spiritual energy that have been wrapping themselves around Izon tighten and constrict around the throat, and there's no actual physical force to them, so he doesn't seem to be bothered. But the mark at the back of his neck begins almost to bubble with that blackened energy that's been moving about underneath his skin. She reaches forward as she's been stepping towards him with each of these sort of like gestures that she's made, these sort of whirling gestures with her arms. And she reaches out and basically puts her thumb right underneath the body of that roiling centipede, and then you can see that it begins to just pull back or be wrenched out of the flesh without making any or leaving behind any wound, and then the body of this writhing creature just almost denaturates into particles of light and blows away like smoke.
Okay. And since we're now out of an exchange, you all are breathing heavily at this point. The guards are knocked down on the floor. Izon is panting, gripping his chest, and after about a few seconds, Izon catches his breath and goes, "Thank you. What? Where am I?"
How much do you remember? What's the last thing that you remember?
I remember falling into the spirit world, and the centipede was talking to me.
Oh dear, you've missed a great deal.
You're the Avatar, though. I do recognize you.
This is going to be rather difficult to explain, and we don't have very much time, but your guards are going to probably come check on you and attack us very shortly. And your city is about to be attacked by Zhou forces that have already infiltrated it.
Oh dear. Well, perhaps I can tell the gods not to attack you?
I would appreciate that if you could, yes.
Right. I have gods now. That's interesting.
Oh, you really have lost a lot. You know that you're a Fire Lord, right?
I'm a Fire Lord now. Well, that's quite interesting.
Tori?
I snap out of like I have not moved from my practice like end state. So I'm like, huh?
I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm going to need your help here because I don't do interpersonal comfort particularly well. So I'm going to leave this to you. Goodbye. And she just sort of steps back and nods at Izon, just like goes off to stand next to Lyn in the corner.
Tori-Michi, 9 times out of 10, will probably deal with the situation very well. But Salai doesn't notice because you're just like, whoop. I am a lot more jumpy. I'm just a lot like, my eyes are always flicking over to the 3 guys I dispatched. I took out 3 guys, woo, in character, not woo. And I go, hi, Lord Izon. I'm very sorry for hurting you, man. This is so that the avatar could spirit bend the evil parasite that was inside your body. I do apologize about that, and just like verbal diarrhea of the entire situation and apologizing greatly.
Okay. As you get to the end of the story, there are other guards that come running in, but Izon has gotten enough of the story that he's able to hold out a hand and go, "It's quite all right. I'm all right. Situation under control. Please, round up the rest of the guards and increase security around the docks, just to be on the safe side." And the guards say, "Oh, of course, at once, Lord Izon." And then they run off to go get the guard and start to hold, sort of, not encroach, but form a barrier, just in case the Zhou family attempts anything. But at this point, Lord Izon kind of looks at the 3 of you and goes, "I must say, it's... to think I've been under the control of this Daiji all this time. I mean, I must have missed years, multiple years at this point."
Oh. That's, do you not remember any of it?
No,
like
as I was on the Avatar, I only remember my encounter with a talking centipede in the spirit world.
And then he's just been controlling your actions from then on in.
That appears to be the case, yes.
Normally I would probably suggest some meditation and some tea and stuff like that, but I don't know, do they need attention? I just, again, look at the 3 people I've dispatched. I go over to them and start, trying to patch them. I'm sorry, Mr. Guards. I didn't mean to push you into the wall. Are you okay?
They're breathing. They'll wake up eventually. You don't have to worry about treating any injuries.
Out of character, yes.
Mm-hmm.
In character, I am very adamant that I'm looking after these people and make sure that I haven't hurt them too much.
Okay. So while you're doing that, what is Lyn Zhou doing?
I think Lyn, through this entire point, literally from the point the last guard fell, she just readied her spear towards the gate so that, she was ready to strike should anyone come through and look to attack them. And she's pretty much maintained that stance the whole time. Mm-hmm. She isn't breathing heavily, but it is slightly labored breathing. But, fighting like this is kind of second nature to her in some ways. So, but she's clearly fallen back on a lot of the techniques and mindset that would be part of her training in the Zhou army. And as a result of that, she's very steely-faced, she's very tense and coiled, almost like ready to strike at a moment's notice. When the guards do come through and they're called off by Lord Izon, she's within a hair's breadth of attacking them. Like if they were going to take another step towards them, then she would have done. And she relaxes slightly when Lord Izon calls them off, but it's less in her demeanor and more in just the way she's not actively pointing the spear towards the gate anymore. She's just still in that defensive stance, though, and ready to attack. She's not really engaging with any of the, in her mind at this point, nonsense that's going on behind her. She's just focused on her objective at this point, which is keeping the Avatar safe, making sure that nobody is stepping into the square that we're in order to fight anyone.
Okay, which now I lead to Matthew and Salai. Salai, you've noticed that Tori-Michi and Lyn Zhou are kind of out of sorts at this point.
And basically off in her corner, she's looking back and forth between the 2 of them. Her cheek twitches ever so slightly, and then she steps forward towards Lord Izon. Mm-hmm. Lord Izon, you, prior to my liberating you from that dark spirit wanted me to redirect the flow of the river in order to prevent the she looks over at Lyn from the corner of her eye, the Zhou forces from releasing the pink rocks that we described and poisoning your town. Would you still like me to do that?
And he thinks for a moment, and he says, I believe that it is possible, yes, but I worry that what you've told me is that might be playing into Daiji's hand. But if we don't do it, well, then Chin City is going to be attacked.
You are the rightful ruler of this city, and it is your decision to make, even if you don't remember ever establishing it. I can't make that decision
put a
for
hand
you.
up, just like in the background, so not disrupting your two conversation, but I'm just like shakily put a hand up.
Yes, Tori-Michi was it?
You could always like earthbend an underwater wall around the ships in question if they're stationed in the same place, so that you imprison the ships. I don't know how much that would help, or yeah, or maybe start a fight. That's probably not a good idea. I'm just gonna go back to healing.
I mean, I could do the earthbending to trap them in the harbor, but to be frank, that would be loud, as earthbending often is.
Yeah, no, you're probably right.
But it would show us if I have my guards on standby. Perhaps the Zhao would realize that there's no point of an attack, that they have been routed in a way. Yes, I actually quite like that idea.
I think probably at that point, Zhao would, Lyn rather, would turn around and just say, that's not necessarily going to stop them. You don't just make the Zhao army retreat because of a piddling wall or redirecting a river. If they want this city, they're going to take it.
Then, perhaps instead of a wall, you could lava bend them. Or, I'm sorry, I don't know how far along you are in the way of your training, Avatar, but could you waterbend their ships out back to sea?
And she just looks uncertainly at the suggestion. I could try, but I mean, they would still be able to attack.
Well, I mean, if you're able to get them out of the hove, or out of the cove and out of the harbor, we would be able to mount a better defense than where they are currently.
No, the harbor cove, the hove, that seems to
The
work.
hove, yes, perhaps we should use that word in the future.
The hove and the carbo, yes.
Hey.
And she nods.
Quick out of character question.
Yes.
Did the man? It probably didn't because it was probably relevant to the ship we were on. But did the manifest give any indication, or would we have had any indication of who's actually leading the attack on? Who's leading the Zhao, basically?
Yes, and I was waiting for you to ask me that question. Lyn,
that means
who is
I'm
your
not gonna
oldest
like the
brother?
answer.
Assuming you have an older brother.
Oh, she probably has several.
Well, who's the oldest brother?
It's an excellent question. That would be Jarvin.
Okay, how do I spell it?
Excellent question. Jarvin, I think.
Okay,
Your older brother is
eldest
Zuko.
brother to Lyn. Okay, so yes, it would have been Jarvin that was leading the attack, and you know that the largest ship in the harbor actually belongs to Jarvin, so it's a good thing you didn't go there.
Probably worth mentioning, we don't get along.
I think after today, they're probably not going to get along with you.
No,
at
but
all.
I mean, we never did anyway. He likes swords. What's that about?
Yeah, right?
That was all out of character, sorry. Cool, okay. So
Well, you know what swords are useful for? Cutting off a snake's head. And the body dies. So, if we want to stop the invasion, stopping your brother might achieve that.
See, this is exactly what Lyn was kind of weighing up in her mind as to like whether to raise this as as an option to go and challenge Jarvin and take control of the army, or just in some, effectively an Agnikai, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Well, as the GM, I will simply point out that there's two very easy ways we can handle this moving forward. One is that we let Salai enter into the Avatar state and do Avatar things, or, as you just suggested, Lyn Zhou could challenge her brother, and we could do a duel of some kind. The only thing I'm going to point out is that Lyn Zhou, you kind of have a lot of conditions, or you have a condition and some fatigue under your belt.
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out as well.
So you still could duel. There's nothing stopping you. It's just
That's
that
it.
you would just be a little bit on the back foot.
Yeah. So,
I mean, could you just freeze the ships in place and then send them out to sea? So then they would not be able to mount an attack right away?
you're suggesting using ice against firebenders.
Yeah, it doesn't have to. Yeah, never mind. It's fine.
I mean, if we were in the Arctic, that would work because firebending doesn't deal particularly well with.
Salai?
No, I'm just saying it's not a. Why am I defending her? She looks a little bit troubled. No, I'll try to remove them from our harbor if you don't feel as if you're capable of defeating your brother.
The Avatar perform an Agni Kai? I mean, right?
She wouldn't have reason to do so. I don't think.
But she would. You have family reasons. I understand that, but the Avatar has a duty to X, Y, and Z. I can't think right now too much, but he is attacking a city, which is disrupting the peace. That goes against the Avatar's duty. As such, you have a reason to fight him, and instead of fighting his entire forces, Agni-Kaiing him, he could see this as a technical advantage, because if you lose, that means you have to not intervene. But it doesn't mean that we can't intervene, and you just usher between me and Zhou.
From what you know of your brother, would he even be willing to accept the terms of that Agni-Kai?
Lyn just sort of crosses her arms, her spear just sort of propped in between them, and just sort of looks like she's thinking for a moment and just sort of sighs angrily, yeah, I mean, you'd be challenging him to an Agni-Kai, you have the right. He couldn't refuse it without losing face. He'd have to. If you wanted to go that route, that would certainly be the most effective way of quickly and surely ending this.
That doesn't answer the question as to what you think about it, though. Even if it is the most expedient solution.
It meets our it achieves our objectives, and that's. She sort of shuts down at that.
I'm just trying to think of some balance move to use here to get you to open up a little bit.
I mean, we're both completely out of sorts right now, so I don't think we're working within character.
Yeah, I think I am going to try to do something to guide and comfort, but what she would do, because she is not particularly adept at either of those things, is escaping me slightly.
This is where we've come to in the course of this episode, is we started out all nice and happy and just usual banter and insanity, and now Salai is the one doing the comforting of other people. That's what we call character growth, perhaps.
Admittedly, Salai was doing the plot thing, but it was just us doing that fight, and we took all the damage.
And she looks over almost helplessly at Izon and says, you do have a very fine collection of tea here. Perhaps we should gather our wits and sample some of the blends that you favor and just then think over things.
Perhaps that is for the best. And because I'm an asshole and because we're coming up on time, I think we're going to end on that little bit of a climax of how does the Agna Kai go? How does the fight go? And we'll just sort of let that hang as a question for if and when we return to Rise of Salai. But yeah, well done indeed. I thought that was an excellent bookend to this little season of ours. As I said, we might return to Rise of Salai, we might not, but hopefully you all are at least satisfied with the most of the conclusion we got through today. But I'm interested, mostly from a Game Master perspective, how did you all like Avatar Legends as a system? And feel free to be as brutally honest as you like. I'm genuinely interested to hear what your feedback is. And I'm going to go in reverse order. We're going to start with Bean.
I enjoyed the system. I feel like the combat not necessarily is clunky, but it takes a while to get through.
Okay.
Like, it's not as long-winded as, say, like D&D or something, but it's a case of, like, we have to go through all the steps. And there's not very much skipping any of the steps. We have to go through all the steps. And admittedly, it's like 6 steps, player's defensive maneuver, enemy's defensive maneuver, etc., etc. And I feel like in a larger party, that would drag on.
It would, yes. And in fact, one of the many complaints or feedback about the system is that the exchange system is, as you say, clunky to some degree. And it's really only meant to be when you are doing long form exchanges. Like if it's going to be a 1-turn exchange, you're just supposed to rely on your skills and training, because otherwise, as you said, you're just doing all these extra steps for no reason.
But I did like the way that it pushes you to, I don't know if I was overplaying being afraid in trouble.
No,
I
did
feel
wonderful.
like I think it allows you to switch your character's sails and pick some other aspect to them. Which is nice, because usually when you're role playing, you just stick into the normal, like, what feels comfortable, because you only got so much headspace.
All right, I like it. Techno, any feedback you have?
Not really. I mean, I suppose it's obviously very narrative based, which is, I think, fine for a group like us. I think we get into the swing of narrative perhaps more than we should.
Oh, that's never a bad thing.
Oh no, quite not. But I do miss being able to perform attacks. Having the sort of player-led initiative order is good. But it just takes a bit of getting used to, I think, and I don't think we've quite gotten to that point of knowing how the combat really flows properly. And I think maybe a couple more sessions with combat in there, or a practice session or something, would probably help with that. But yeah, I mean, generally, I like the system. I think it's interesting. It obviously gives you a lot of room to role play and to grow your characters out. And this session in particular, I've really enjoyed being able to do that. Yeah, generally, I like the system. I'm interested to see how things like tradition and progress and the other balance things come into play, because I don't feel like they have very much. But yeah, no, generally I like it. I think it's very interesting.
All right, cool. And then Matthew, anything you'd care to add to all that?
Not really. I mean, Avatar Legends, although I haven't played it as much as I would like, is one of my favorite systems. I found that this time as well. I enjoyed most aspects of it. I like how balance functions conceptually. It's just, as we mentioned earlier on, with some hiatuses, we never really got into the groove of it. And combat is something that happens, or the exchange system is something that you use so rarely, it's difficult for it to become fluid, because that's the point. You don't use it very often. So I think that if we did have like a practice session on that, just with the combat system, it would be a little bit easier to execute it when the time came in individual sessions, and I think it would run a little bit more smoothly. But I agree with the general consensus that it is a clunky tool, and to be avoided, save in key climactic instances. Otherwise, I enjoyed it thoroughly.
All right, awesome. Well, it's that all that feedback is very important because, as I said, where we go from here, we're going to talk offline. Whether we continue this in a little bit, or if we go back to Star Trek, or we try some other system. All I would say is that you want to keep an eye on my Discord chat, and we'll just sort of see what happens. But for now, this is where I'm going to say goodbye to both Twitch and YouTube. Thank you both so much. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Cheers.